This second advanced spelling test will quickly tell you what a student knows and has yet to learn, and which word chain level of word chain 3 or 4 is appropriate for them. Now, by now, many students can spell the real word equivalents of these by rote. So to discover what spelling patterns they actually know, this test uses pseudo words. Tell the students that there may be several ways to spell this made-up word, but you want to give them the most common way or ways. So here, there is just one possible obvious way to spell the word, but here there are 2 and here there are 3. The student is to write 2 possible spellings here and 3 down here. Make it clear to them that these are not real words, so there may not be a right or wrong spelling. You do not intend to mark some as correct and others as wrong. If you're giving this test to the whole class at once, then stop at this point here and analyze the results. There will be some students who will need to start here at word chain 3, the skills covered in this part of the test, and there is no point in testing them further right now. You will be able to repeat this test down the track when you need to discover what progress has been made, what difference word chain is making. To make this work, never tell a student how they got on, and never use this as a teaching tool. For instance, never hear if the student writes C-L-A-Y-N, never tell them A-Y-N is possible but unlikely, A-I is much more common. Repeat the word if a student asks you to. Do not repeat it more than twice. Claim, claim. This column here is a pronunciation guide for you. Do not give it to the student. You need to know that the student can figure this out without that prompt. So that's purely for your benefit. All you would say here is, I'm looking for 2 spellings of clane. I'm looking for 2 different ways to spell lote. I'm looking for 2 different ways to spell loting, and so on. And what the student is likely to do, they'll be doing this on a piece of paper or in a book, and you'll be transferring what they wrote to here. So this student for clane wrote this, they knew one spelling, but for the other one they didn't really know. So they wrote down this. Then that student thought, supposed to have an E on, added an E and thought, no, maybe not, and crossed it out. So everything like that I write down because it's telling you the student's thinking. Here, lote, many students will get that spelling because they know boat, and that's the most obvious one, but not get this one and put down something else like L-O-T-E. That's the most common, much the most common alternative if you don't know that spelling. Loting, I'm looking particularly to see if they get one T here. So that's one spelling, and this is the other. And some children will put 2 T's in there because it looks better. Lotta, lot, and so on. Here I'm looking for 3 spellings for freet, and I'm likely to get, maybe the student knows this one, can think of this one, and can't think of a 3rd one, and just leaves it blank. Then I start analysing. So this student got that spelling, but not that one. They got this spelling, but not that one. And I'm going to put down here that that final E I'll just write problem or something like that, because it's clear that the student hasn't really got in their head the role of that final E. So here, they put 2 T's there when there should have been 1, and 1 T here where there should have been 2, so I'm marking that, and so on. They've got that one, but not that one. Over the page, here, the same thing. This student for fretter might put it, not getting that double T, and they might put something else for that or sound. Then horse, what I'm looking for here is whether they get that SC plus that CE, or torse, reading the wrong word, torse, and I don't know what else to do, so I'll think of another way of doing torse, doing the all sound. O-U-R-S-E perhaps. So that is in the head. That is in the head, but this is not. So I've got a picture here of what the student knows and can do. I'm particularly concerned here because this is what word chain 3 is mainly about, these vowel patterns here. If there are multiple omissions here or errors, then you know that that student needs to go on to word chain 3. Where to use the double consonant and the single consonant is also covered in word chain 3, but it is reinforced in word chain 4. And certainly the role of this SE and CE is covered in word chain 4. So if those were the only errors, then move on. This column of vowels is much the most important there. So if you've got multiple errors in those vowels, that student needs to go on to word chain 3, stop there. Then we come to the more advanced vowel diagraphs in word chain 4, plus these patterns, and this also covers these simple suffixes and quite a bit more on SC, CE, and SE and CE and so on. So let's say for Rorge, only one option. The student wrote down Rorge, and here Rage. That doesn't look right. I think I'll put an E on the end. Ratch, Rouch, Hurt, Churt. I've got to have, which rhymes with hurt. I've got to think of 3. Maybe I've got 2 of them spring to mind, that one and that one. I can't think of another one. So maybe I just leave it at 2, or maybe the student thinks I'll try something else. No, T, maybe an E, and so on. And then we're just going through these. So what I'm looking for here, always, when it's that Z sound, it has to be an SE. I'm looking to see that they get that. Here, this ois, more likely to be a CE. I'm looking to see that they get that. But SC and CE can both make the soft S sound. So for Gauss, I'm looking to see that the student gets both of those spellings. And they might get one because that looks right, but I don't know what to do with the other one. Maybe I'll do an OW. And so on. These ones down here, these are controlled vowels. You will have to stretch out the sounds to make it really clear, really exaggerate the sounds. Splare, sleer, blore, like that. It's very difficult to hear the sounds, the difference between those two in normal speech. So really stretch it out, really emphasize it. Here I'm looking to see it It's still about the vowels, but also about these simple prefixes. And what you will find is that some students that get OI up here, for instance, where there's not a lot to think about, will lose it when they've got this prefix to deal with as well. Too much to think about. So even though they got oi in these words up here, they may lose it here and put down something like redroit or something like that. Here, really stretching out these R-controlled vowels in flare, embrace, expound, dekern, and so on, down to this one, discurt. When you have a sound following a k sound, is the only option. And I'm looking to see that they know that. If they put down discurt, that is not possible. That would say dissert. And so that's what I'm analysing. I'm noticing that there are multiple errors here, multiple errors in these in emissions in these vowels. That's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem. Here, that's a problem, and so on. And this, and even though they got it there, they're not getting it here. That's what I'm looking for there. So if you're getting multiple omissions and errors in this column and in any of the other columns, then that student needs to go to word chain 4. If, however, there are only a couple of errors, maybe in here, this is covered well in word chain 5, and a couple of errors here, also covered well in word chain 5. But basically, apart from a couple of problems, they've got those vowels covered, then the student would probably be better on word chain 5 when it comes, hopefully not far away.